Let's get this started. Okay, let's make this big. All right, we are here today. Let's get started. Let's give some time for people to get in to the webinar from Miami. Lucky us, right? Lucky us. So people will arrive soon. They just got the reminder. Hopefully so.
I don't feel like people can appreciate the view we have right now.
I know. It's unfortunate for them.
It'd be all backlit if we turned it around.
I know it's really bad. I tried it. It didn't work.
I just made an Insta reel about investing in Miami. I was like, which building? All you gotta do is pick. The math works in all of them.
Math
Just
works.
pick your building.
Hyde House. Okay, well. Did it. Okay, well. We had a low attendee one for this one, a low RSVP. We only had 7 versus normally we have 20. So I guess we wait, right?
Yeah, see, if nobody goes online, we can, it's always good recording. Oh, there, we've got a.
You know what we can do? Hello. We could go at the same time, live at the same time. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's smart.
Sure, go. Smart idea. Brilliant. Yeah, the timing is a bit tough with the time change, right?
For sure.
All right. Oh, and here comes Jamie with the bags. Eric, can you help Jamie? This is how you do webinars on vacation. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going live. We're doing double live today. We're doing the webinar and we're doing IG live to talk about property flipping. How many people here know Jeff Thibodeau? My good friend, Jeff Thibodeau from Canada, Brantford, a little town right outside of Toronto, about an hour and 10 minutes. And we've known each other for maybe 8 years.
Something like that.
Yes, we met through the Tom Ferry system. And since then, Jeff has gone on to start and own a brokerage. Now he's a coach, manages teams, and most importantly, does property flips. So he took all that fun sales stuff, threw it out the door and decided to do it on his own because that's where the big bucks are, right?
Yeah, once you figure out how to do it, you're trying to convince clients to do it. You're like, what am I doing here?
Exactly.
I should just be convincing myself to do this.
Exactly. Something Tom always taught us, right, was to, when you see the deal, buy it yourself instead of, offering it up to your clients. So we want to start today. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're doing a double whammy webinar and IG live, and we're in Miami. If you're jealous, I'm sorry if you are. Just a little flip of the MIA. Amazing. It's backlit, so we can't. All right, so let's get started here today. Any questions that you have, feel free to put in the chat feed, put in the IG live. We're going to start with how to get started. How on earth does one even start to think about a property flip, Jeff? Where would we even go? What do we even do? No matter where you are in the world, the country, what's first steps?
It's crazy because I have this conversation multiple times a week because it seems like so many people are interested. There's so much TV about flipping houses. Yes. You see these prices, you hear about something happening in your neighborhood and like, man, can it really be that easy? And honestly, what I find is like so many people are just stuck in research phase. Mm-hmm. One big piece of advice I give to people right away is like, you only do a deal by doing a deal. You don't do a deal on a spreadsheet or
right.
Through, it's good to analyze stuff, but you're not until you just jump in. So I think it's that one of those commitment steps to be like, I'm not just going to research this for 10 years.
Okay.
You're going to hop in and do one. Maybe it's going to break even. Maybe you lose a little bit of money, hopefully not, but you gain a ton of experience so that your second, third, or fourth are going to be home runs. But you just got to have the skills. Like in our business, we have half the skills already, right? Like we know how to value a property to buy it. We know how to help someone to sell it. So for me, it was really about figuring out the mathematics of the middle of a flip, right? Because I'm not a construction guy.
True.
Yeah.
True. So it sounds like getting with somebody, doing it is the first step. You have to make the commitment to do it, but finding someone who could advise you on the steps along the way. So what would some of those things be? So you decide you want to flip, you're ready to say yes, maybe you have your capital lined up. Like, what are the things to look for to discuss with your trusted advisor? What are some of the things they would tell you that a common person wouldn't know about flipping?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is to figure out where you're nervous or where you're worried about the process, and try to fill those gaps in with professionals, right?
Okay.
And getting a clear idea. Obviously, the money side of things is going to limit what you can do, because everybody's got a different budget and different capital. So figuring out how much money you have available and how much credit you have available, and what kind of project that can even do. And that's going to be our first screener, because if you have bigger ambitions, then you might have to find some bigger financial partnerships. If you don't, then maybe you can just take it all on yourself and hire it out. But for me, it's been invaluable to have partnerships and not try to do it all on my own, to have multiple people with different skill sets all invested in the same deal, so that there's many hands making light work. You don't have to feel the pressure that it's all on you each deal.
Partnerships, that can come with its own
partnership. I will say, yes, partnerships are very important, that they're very transparent, very upfront, and that the people you partner with have very similar morals, values, and financial timelines and goals. If any of those things are
morals,
out of
values,
financial goals, yeah, if any of those are out of line, you're going to have a problem in a partnership.
That's true. So what would you say the lowest amount of money you could have to do a flip?
Well, zero is the best, right?
Zero.
So yeah. Okay.
How do you do a zero?
Let's break a $0 flip
$0 flip down.
And this is
who wants to do a $0 flip? Raise your hand. Who wants to do a $0 flip?
I love them. They're the best.
I see some way.
And you can do a $0 hold too, right? So the key is, like, we're already used to getting mortgage money. And I don't know what's normal down here, 20% down payments or ish. Yeah, right. So you got 20% plus some closing costs. So you're already getting 80% of the money given to you. And as long as, if you open your mind that I can go somewhere else and get the other 20%, maybe not from the same lender. And typically what we'll do in a deal is we'll have a lender cover the mortgage money, but then we'll have a financial partner cover all the cash costs, and we're just the project manager. So we don't actually put any of our capital out to work for those things, right? We put our effort in, and we share the profit with the capital partner, and they're passive. The thing with people like that is they have money in the bank, and they don't have anything exciting to invest it in. Mutual funds and stuff isn't exciting. So
that's a lot of people with cash right now.
There's tons. And they would rather give it to someone they trust and say, when they're having drinks with their buddies and stuff, to say, I'm flipping a house over there and stuff. It's much more exciting investment for them. And it's not like they have to get their hands dirty, but they can have a say in it. It's their money.
Right.
And so we've had no problem finding almost unlimited number of partners that want to do that, and want to contribute their capital without their effort. It just sounds perfect on the other side too, right? Just put in your money and let a bunch of hard workers go and make you good returns.
So is that how you first got started, with somebody else's capital?
Our first few, we scraped and skimped. Like, we literally maxed out all of our credit cards as a team. We had 3 of us that started. We bought 3 houses right away and just shell gamed all the money around. But our corporation, we never put any we never put any money into it. You know what I mean? It was always just personal loans in, pull it back out.
Yep.
And so it was a $0 corp that we just have spun up to a massive, development and holdings corporation pretty quickly by doing this.
Yes. Within the last 2 years, right?
Yeah. 2.5 years. We've really been going hard as a partnership.
Yeah. Right. So essentially they started with their own funds and maxing out credit cards and skimping to get by, and a little bit of a hope and a prayer, I'd say. And after having a formula with flipping that works in the many properties that you've done, now they're able to go out and get capital from other people, whether it's friends, banks, investors, people they know, clients, and help them flip with that formula. So Jeff's kind of taken a different path from flipping with his own money to running like a hedge fund, pretty much flipping with other people's money.
Right.
And those people that are always flying private, right? They do hedge funds. So we're hanging with the right people.
Yeah. Well, the thing too, we're trying to we really reinvest like 100% of our stuff too. So doing real estate developments are side hustle, right? And I think it's important for people to appreciate that. Like, if you're going to try to take money out of it all the time, it becomes your job.
Yes.
And it's a lot harder for us. We just keep rolling the profits over, and it hasn't really withdrawn. We've only taken 1 dividend as a team ever in our whole time of doing this. And
That's
that makes it a
amazing.
lot easier. So because it isn't another full-time job. Like,
Yes.
I just had my call with my team. We have 1 hour a week. We get together, the four of us
No
on a
matter
Zoom
what.
call
Yes.
and discuss the projects and get back to work. It's
Right.
not like having another 40-hour week job.
That's huge.
So
Because
I
you've
think
got
it's
the
something
system set
anybody
up.
can tackle. And
Anybody can tackle. So we have a few questions coming in.
Oh,
One person
amazing.
wanted to know how much you used when you started, and another person wanted to know what dollar amount you look at to make sure a flip is good. So that's a two-part question, which is good because it goes into some formulas Jeff and I were just discussing.
Yeah, so the good news is the price point, they're available at every price point, right? We found is the bottom price points are actually the most competitive because there's so many people with limits on their budget in the construction industry and stuff that are everyone's fighting for that entry level price point in your city. Probably
everyone is fighting for the entry level price point.
The better funded we become, actually the easier. It's like the bigger projects are more profitable. There's less people fighting. But I think our first couple projects were around the $300,000 purchase point.
Okay.
So
you did 20% down.
Yeah. So like you've got 60 grand of cash costs,
That's
maybe
not
another
much.
50 of renovation. We're trying to maybe stay around 100 and you're making the house go up 200. It's
Right.
kind of basic math. So we were talking
Wait,
about
run that again. You just said 300 purchase price, 60K down.
yeah,
Reno budget.
so 20% down plus some closing costs. And then if you're looking at a budget of somewhere between, 10 to 20%, again, this one thing I will say here too, is as you're getting started, you want to bite off a small project, right? You want to kind of a project where the reno is 5 to 10% of the value of the project. We were just talking about a house we did where the purchase price was 600 and the reno budget has ballooned to 900. And so that's
What do you guys think about that? That's a little scary,
it's
huh?
a big project, right? Or we're sitting here in a condo tower, right? These are big projects, but you can buy a house and be amazed at what 50 grand in a small house will do, a 1,200 square foot house in terms of flipping the kitchen and the bathroom really quickly.
It really can.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about this 70-30 rule. Explain to us what you mean by that as far as purchasing something to flip. What's the 30%? What's the 70%?
Like to have just general, like you're going to see a lot of properties. So it's good to be able to analyze things with a thumb really quickly before you dive into an Excel sheet and get all in the weeds. So this it's like 70, 10, 10, 10, right? 70 and 30
70,
make
10,
up 100.
10. Okay.
And so if your purchase price is 70, your costs will be 10, your reno budget will be 10, and then 10's left over for profit.
Okay.
And that doesn't sound that exciting, right? You make a $300,000 house into a 500,000, maybe it works, right? What it is, it's a minimum. You don't want it any worse than that, because here's what happens. If you only have 10% for profit, the pie never gets bigger than 100%. So if your rental budget goes up to 11%, if your purchase price was 72%, all those little 1% have to come out of somewhere.
Yes.
And that's your profit. So we're saying that's a minimum. Like if it doesn't meet that, I'm going to buy it today for at least 70 cents on the dollar, what I think I can get it to. It just is an X right away.
Right.
It's just not enough room to.
You're leaving yourself a cushion.
All those reno shows on TV, they forget to add up all the costs, right? They just show you purchase price, reno budget, sold price. And they're missing a giant,
yes,
like all the closing costs, all the holding costs, all the financing
the
costs.
holding costs are huge.
So they miss that whole thing and make it seem too easy. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up, is not having a good analysis of the deal before they go. You chase an exciting project and hope it makes money versus
looking at the numbers.
One thing I do, it's part of my role on the team, is the analysis and strategy on our team. And I think it's really important also to, before you're buying anything, you actually should be able to reverse engineer the whole thing. So instead of starting with, oh, I like this house, I can afford it.
Okay.
Plus we can renovate it and make the kitchen my own. That's how a homeowner thinks. But you have to go backwards and say, I know this is the max I can sell it for, renovated,
right? Minus
my costs, minus my budget, minus, add in the profit I want to make. And then that gives you your maximum purchase price.
So if you can buy something and flip it for $1 million, so back it up that way. So then you have what?
Yeah, like Carrie would be able to tell you, okay, this is what 100. This will go to with these finishes. And you should have provable comps in the marketplace. You're not going out into space. Like you're like, here's comparable houses that show what it's worth today. And here's comparable houses that show what it'd be worth with new kitchen, new bath, landscaping.
Yes, exactly.
And then my other little secret there is I'm not a designer. So basically what I do is I take those expensive comps and I hand them to my contractor. And I say, how much does it cost to make this house look like these houses? And then they give me their number. And if that's the number, then we just go. I'm not too picky about finishes and stuff. I'm trying to make it look like what's already on the market. I'm not trying to create some masterpiece, right?
Yes, 100%. So if you're looking at $1 million, essentially the 70-30 rule would be a $700,000 purchase price. And
Maximum.
then you've got maximum, right? Because you're hoping to make 100. So then you're going to spend 100 on renovating it. And then the other 10% is for
all your closing costs, your real estate fees on sale, plus all your mortgage holding. And that's a general rule of thumb.
That's not bad.
And if the reno is going to be more than 10%, you got to take that off the purchase price, not out of the profit, right? The 100% never grows bigger. So if the ratio stops working, that same 70, 10, 10, 10, maybe it's 60% purchase, 20% reno, 10% cost. So I think most people just don't look at real estate that way. We've been used to thinking of it as our house, which is like the same way you buy a car. Like, what can I afford? What's my monthly payment? What do I like? And you just have to look at these as pure mathematical business decisions because you're not holding on to them. I think the craziest thing, right, Carrie, is that you really love it. Like you renovate these houses and you put all this energy into them and then they're sold and you never see them again. The rest of your life, they're gone. Like there's somebody else's house.
Yeah.
And so you got to step back and like, the staging is most of it. Like if you unstage our houses, they're just white.
Yeah.
They're just like white tiles.
Staging is everything. Staging is everything.
And yeah, so it's uncomplicated in that way. I think too many people get caught up in the design side of things. Like it matters and it doesn't really. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Somebody had asked a question about, congrats on your house you just purchased. I don't see where that was. A burn. Yeah. But he was talking about how do I make sure I stay within budget? That's a good point. How Jeff goes to the contractor and says, here's this house, here's these flips. How much will it cost to make this house I'm buying look like that? And really understanding their breakdown of a budget, but also that's where you need the expertise of people who have flipped before or an agent who can look at those. So you were just mentioning you had seen somewhere that a line item for landscaping was missing. You know, it's easy to forget little costs like that, like a holding cost for your 6 months while you're flipping it. So having your contractor look at the budget and maybe shopping it out to a couple different contractors, but having them look and see exactly what they would think of it. And if it was a 700 project, you need to stay under 100 grand. And I'd say you always have to budget within that 10%, at least 5 to 10% overage.
Yep.
So try to get a quote that's 80K to do the project.
And to make sure it's still a winner, even if it goes a little bit over. And the thing I would say there too, if you're already underway, this is a big one. When we're homeowners and something pops up in the reno, we go, ooh, I don't want to comp. I've still wanted that, right? So just deal with it. The budget inflates, right?
Yes.
Deal with it. The budget inflates
Yes.
is how we tackle things as homeowners. But in a business sense, like I really stress this, any dollar you can save is equal to $1 profit on the other end. So like even so my wife's here, we're doing our own vacation rental in Canada up on the lake.
Yay.
And it's funny, like we got the budget and we'll go out shopping. And you save $100 on the couch. So immediately it's like, ooh, where can we spend? And I'm like, no, it's okay to just save $100. We just put it like, just like this, like there's $100. Like we just made $100. So it's a different mindset again, that
much different mindset.
The buyer, once you put your finished product up, that buyer for that house never knows what you intended at the beginning of the project. So if you had to cut something out or change a material, that's not going to be they only are going to see the finished product. So you've got to make a compromise and keep it working mathematically.
Yeah, which is another great question I saw come through is how do you decide on design and architecture and plans and things like that? I had seen that come through, which is a great question.
We don't try to lead the market at all.
Tips on design and architect goals.
A burn down. Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So if you're building from scratch, you have a lot more, because doing a flip, we're going to not really want to do a lot of architectural changes to a house. They're expensive, right? You're going to just want to keep the structure as much as you can.
Keep the walls.
Yeah. You're not going to add new,
adding on is expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
It's lucrative if you can handle that size of project, but it's definitely not a 101 level project.
Yeah, I'd wait on that one.
But what we do again is not try to overthink the market. I go and look for houses that already exist. You don't want to be the outlier, because when it comes to selling, you want to be in the mix. You don't want, you don't want to be off with this really unique house to sit on the market for 6 months.
Like the black house trend.
Oh, right. Were they doing that? Painting everything black down here?
So many black house trends in California. And I said, that's going to be out in like 5 years, easy. And then you have a black house to deal with.
Right.
Right.
Or everyone, like your whole street paints them black and all of a sudden it's not cool anymore, right? You're like, what happened here?
Design trends change so fast that looking at what is recently sold, especially ones that have sold over asking, or like the hot homes, just doing exactly what they're doing, like that tile, those colors, something very similar. But I'd say, I personally think in flips, doing things just a little bit of a tweak, like instead of doing a flat subway tile, do one like the longer ones, or like a little bit of a different shape, or the tile in the bathrooms, choose something that's a little funkier, choose different colored fixtures, like do something that makes it pop a little so people don't feel like they're going to the same house. And then again, with staging and artwork, like with Airbnbs, we like to do little fun things. Like if you need to buy a couch anyways, or you need to buy pillows, like why not buy fun colors? And it's not more expensive to have fun with decor, in my opinion. But that's where the staging really helps when you're flipping too, because add some fun art and rugs, and the house looks like it's an even better flip, which is great.
It's crazy too. Like we've had projects, you know, they're not all slam dunks. You put one on the market with a tight budget and it's all staged up and it's not getting the showings, and we'll take it down and can that stager and hire a totally different stager, not that just because they have total different inventories, and rephotograph the house and it's sold the next week. And I'm like, it's the same exact house.
Yeah.
And the thing we'll say on budget wise too, fit, like we were talking about high lows in those magazines yesterday, about everyone knows
high low.
And you can do that, realizing that labor on construction is almost always the same. It's the finish levels that change the price. It's the same amount of money to install tile, whether the tile is premium luxury marble or it's base porcelain, right?
Unless you're getting ripped off, which happens a lot in LA.
So you definitely can make those decisions, reminding yourself that, you know, and not in a bad way. I want to say, like, we like to put out quality product, but at the same time, most people renovate even their new houses when they buy them off you.
Yes.
So to put in a little bit cheaper material, what you're getting usually is the same look, but less longevity or long durability. And you're not going to be there for 10 or 20 years.
Right.
So it's okay if the stuff wears out in 5 or 6 years to the new owner. It might have turned over twice by then anyways. Yes.
You want to keep it, I'd say, middle of the line. So not cheap, but durable and that looks good.
And if you can get stuff on discount, like we've found suppliers that bring in entire shipping containers of stuff from China with no storefronts, right?
Yes.
And we'll buy an entire truck of floor and use it in 10 projects. So that can keep your costs down.
Buying things in bulk, yes.
And by the time if you have a good contracting team, your second and third and fourth projects are going to get cheaper with them, because the first one, it's probably you that made it expensive, changing your mind or not being clear and all that. But as they understand that you're doing a certain type of project, it's not for your own like enjoyment, but the budget is important. The timeline is the most important. That's in your relationship with your contractor. You got to get the right people on your team.
The right people are
all thinking like that.
The realtor that's helping you, the contractor, and the money people. Like the team is such a huge part, because no matter what guidance you have, there's always going to be things you learn along the way that just comes with experience. It's like growing up. You know, people will tell you things all day long, but until you experience it, you don't know what it's like to burn your hand on a hot stove until you actually do it. You don't know what it's like to get your heart broken until your heart's broken. You don't know what it's like, you know, to start a business until you start one. Like no matter what you read, no matter what you Google with flipping, it'll be the same thing. Like we're helping a client with a flip right now, and we wanted to put in a washer dryer, right? Which should be simple. We redo the whole thing, refinish floors, bathroom, kitchen, everything. We helped him design, and it's been really fun. And then all of a sudden, like, well, we need the electrical panel upgraded. Okay, so now we have to go back and go to the city and get permits, and they have to pull up the floor and they have to open up the drywall. And we're thinking, why didn't anyone know this up front? You know, so that's just something I'll add into the bank of, all right, in future, we need to make sure all the electrical and the systems are upgraded before we even start the renovation, because now it's going to cost more and take more time. But you only learn that through experience.
That's a great mindset though. Like I try to coach that. Like we were saying, our first 3 projects, we didn't even really, like we admitted that, hey, it's okay. We plan on doing a bunch of these. So if the first 3 get screwed up a little bit, or they're not that profitable, we're planning on more. And it's going into things like I was saying right now, I'm handling one where I'm being the general contractor for the first time, and I'm not experienced in construction, but I did it on purpose so that as our team's moving more into complete ground up construction, not just renos, I don't want to just be at the whim of all the contractors. I want to get in one project, get my hands really dirty, like be in charge, have all the decisions fall on my lap, so that from now on, I'm like, I know what I'm doing. And there's no way to get that education without just jumping in.
You really do have to jump in. So when you say you're the general contractor on that, you're overseeing it, or you're on hands and knees with hammer and nail?
Both. Yeah, I don't mind. Like I'm not a good finished carpenter, but I can do. So I reframed the house.
Those Canadians are very woodsy.
Well,
you reframed the house?
not structurally, like cosmetically, I'd put new flooring down.
Amazing.
I'm going to do some of these silly, the smaller jobs. And it's not about saving money on this project. It's about
learning.
It's about having it all on my
learning.
shoulders.
Yeah.
It's about me.
It's about Jeff learning.
Being confident in it and dealing with all the, like, again, speaking with contractors, I've been in real estate my whole life. It's a different language.
It's a completely different language.
But I'm building my Rolodex now. And these guys, you're establishing these relationships with great people that are going to come to my next project when I call them. So
you get 3 different people come out and give you a bid, you'll get 3 different quotes. So when you have the experience and you know what they're talking about, which again only comes with experience, you can tell them, well, that's not the right way to do it. You don't need to, whatever it is, go under the floor, go on the roof, upgrade that. Like, you have more experience that you wouldn't know unless you've actually been doing it yourself, like actually.
And that's the work of the deal, right? Is hunting all that. Like, for an example, I have some friends, they just texted me, I'm going to call them after this call because they wanted to reno their house on the way out. They're going to leave the country and move to Australia.
Really?
And they want to reno the house on the way out to make some profit, just like you flip your own house, right? Don't sell it as is.
Always flip your own house.
They had already got some quotes, and they had a quote for $17,000 to new floor in the whole house. Right?
How big is it?
It's big. It's a few thousand square feet. But I thought it was expensive. And I said, well, what, here, go down to the place we get our floor from. And they texted me back that afternoon and they said 7,000.
Wow.
And I'm like, see how easy investing is?
$10,000.
You just made $10,000. He's like, this is great.
The right people. Yeah.
Well, but it would be so easy not even to make that second store visit. So that's the work at the beginning. It's not hard, but it is work. It's hours of look this up. Like right now, we're looking at all these buildings, right? What are the prices? What are the views? Which units?
Right. It's the research. We don't know anything. And we're looking before we get here. And as soon as we get here, we're like, oh, this is Hyde Beach House. That's Hyde Resort. And that's Hollandale Beach. Like, we don't know any of these areas. And it's
you just got to jump in and do it. But
right.
Your neighborhoods are the same. I would say, like, the best place to flip a house is your next door neighbor.
Exactly.
Because you know the neighborhood, you're keeping an eye on the sales. And if you're close to the project too, you're going to check it out almost daily. You can see if there's contractors there. Stuff that's out of town, it's tough, to keep an eye on your teams and what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good point too, like where to invest. I would always say somewhere within a 20 to 30 minute drive of you, so you can oversee it. And if the prices are higher where you live, then, that's something you'll just have to, I guess, deal with. But maybe start with a condo or start with something smaller or get a partner so you can get into something. But having something that's far away or in another state can be a little tricky unless you have partners there. So I would start local.
Somebody needs to care about the deal close by, like somebody who's invested in it, because it's so easy for them to just become money holes when nobody's watching.
Yes. So what are a couple takeaways from maybe what you would leave with people who want to get started as far as like an actionable item for them?
Yeah, the best piece of advice I can give anyone to get going, if you're at 0 flips and you want to get to 1, right? Or you've done 1 and it maybe didn't go so well and you're thinking, should I keep doing this? The biggest mistake that even our team made, and that I think when people come to me for help, I identify the same mistake, is that we don't spend enough time getting clear on what a winning project looks like before you ever start shopping. So, and that's usually comes down to what you can afford plus the scope of renovation that you're comfortable with. Okay. So if it's your first deal, we're probably not talking about knocking a whole building over and starting from scratch. You're probably looking for a kitchen, bath, lipstick paint,
even floors, paint, cabinets.
So if you sit down with a real estate agent or whoever your advisor team is going to be, and you say, okay, this is what I can afford on the way in. This is how much cash I have. This is the type of scope. Here's a perfect project for me.
Yes.
And that's the step that nobody does. They just hop on the MLS and go, that one's cute. What about this one? And you end up chasing an opportunity and trying to make it work versus you define what a working great opportunity looks like, and then you hunt it down.
Yes.
But the key is when you find one, you got to shoot the arrow, right? You got to grab it, because it's so easy to say no to everything and be 2 years later watching the market go by and you're like, oh man, I could have got it for is the worst disease in real estate, because prices are not going down. So you think, but I could have bought this condo for 500 new. It still makes sense to buy it for $1 million today.
Yes.
Right. You can't think like that. And
can't live in the past.
But putting those borders up, the way I describe it as a metaphor is like, if you do it right and you buy a winner and you've been disciplined, literally the day you close it, it's like you're standing at the top of a mountain and you just have a boulder and you just tip it and it just starts rolling downhill. You just got to check in on it, just rolling downhill for 6 months.
The boulder.
Right? If not,
I like
if you
that.
chase an opportunity without good math, without good fundamentals, you have the same boulder and the same hill, but you start on day one at the bottom. And for the next 6 months to 12 months of your life, you're pushing a boulder uphill and you can't stop. It's your boulder now. And if you let go of it, it rolls right back downhill. You have to get it, you can't get out. So it's so important to.
So how do we not get that boulder that we're pushing up the hill?
It's
Good agent and know the math.
Know the math and double check your stuff. Like, know that, don't get married to the specific house. Get married to the math. Get married to the deal.
Get married to the deal and the math. I love that.
Because it's not going to be your house. It's different. Buying a hold or a vacation property, different. We're going to buy a vacation property. We want to live here.
I'll buy this.
These places you're in and out. Like our team is doing like 6 to 12 of these exits a year.
That's what I was going to ask.
And you never see them again. Like they're a little poster on my success wall or whatever of like flip houses, but you're never going to go in them again. They're not for your long-term portfolio. What you're looking for is the arbitrage. Right? We're talking about your husband with his sneakers, right? It's the same game. You got to buy something undervalued today, accounting for all the costs. You got hold costs that are low on sneakers, but you do need storage space or something, right?
Yes, right.
And then you're going to have an exit price, hopefully. And it's this, flipping a house is no different. The numbers are bigger. But the deals are everywhere.
Good question that just came in. Do you ever make a decision to hold? How do you make the call? This is great because we're actually talking about my husband holding sneakers and why. Why do you hold? Why do you sell? And it could be things like that, storage space for the sneakers. But as far as houses, it's a great question.
Holding.
What would make you hold?
Well, holding is the game, right? Flipping is a way to generate capital. But holding is the game you want to get into. So the thing I tell you, if you're not already
New webinar coming soon, how to hold a property.
It's very easy. You just buy it and don't ever look at it. Yeah. But that's where wealth comes from, right? Flipping is just a job. So we're in and out of the flips and they're making revenue and you're getting taxed on it and you got to redeploy it. But if you can hold something, then it just sits there, right? If you get the math of a hold, which we could talk about, obviously it's just rentals minus expenses equals, cash flow. But if you can get that working, our goal really of our team was to build up our own retirement fund, basically. So we show a lot of the flips we do. The holds are not that interesting because there's just a family living in them. They're not renovated. So there's nothing to show on Instagram, but that's been the real goal. We've built a multi, 5-figure portfolio by using the money from the flips. So we weren't born rich. We're not millionaires that can just go buy these properties. So it's like flip, grab that one for a hold. Yes. Now to answer Curry Homes.
Yeah.
This is my favorite. Okay. If you can get it all working together, you think about, I can buy an asset today, maybe I can hold it and I can flip it at the end, right? On my way out 5 years from now, after I've held it, or I can flip it right now and rent it at premium rents, or I could half flip it now and half flip it later. So flipping and holding are like these two pieces. I actually call it development, not flipping. Flipping is like a silly word. We're developers, right? We develop real estate assets to a higher value.
You flip pancakes.
Flipping sounds greasy, like you're taking advantage of somebody, but we're not. We're buying something undervalued. We're upgrading it fairly in the market and selling it fairly. Like everybody's happy.
Everybody wants a nice house, right?
So if you can, one story I'll share with you on why. So multiple exit plans is very important. Again, another way to de-risk a project is have multiple ways out of it, not just I got to sell it for this price to an overexcited buyer in a hot market. If that's your only exit plan, no good. No. So we had a property. It was one of these first three. We got in way over our head. We decided to put 200 grand of reno into a $450,000 house with a big addition.
Wow.
A full year-long project, but it was like a passion project in our own neighborhood. And the kitchen counter got delayed 3 times because the guys broke it twice, right?
Oh,
and
didn't think of that.
They pushed us 3 weeks. And Carrie, I did so much marketing. I was trying to be like you, $1 million agent on this house. I made 7 marketing videos.
Oh my gosh.
A magazine for it, $3,500 worth of staging furniture in it. And we put it up for sale and we went to bed and the world got shut down from COVID the very next morning. We had 0 showings on the property.
Wow.
Then we're 200 grand and 12 months into a reno. And our choice was reduce it down, right? 10% price reduction. There goes all your profit. So reduce it down and go break even, or plan B, do an executive rental. So we found a doctor who was between homes. We got it to cash flow for 18 months.
Wow.
And then bless our hearts, the real estate market went crazy for those same 2 years. And then we actually just sold it back in December. We couldn't sell it for 780, right? We were going to reduce it to 7 and for break even. We ended up selling it for $1,070,000 18 months later.
Whoa. Oh, wow. That's huge.
So we went from zero profit to $370,000 profit by making a smart spreadsheet decision and not a panicky, like all my capital's tied up in one deal,
going to hell. Yeah.
So plan Bs are really important.
And when you say hold to, just to be clear, it's not just having the property sit, it's usually renting it out, whether it's short-term or long-term. And that's what the holding game is. Yeah.
And so the hold game, what I like to say is like the cash flow. So your rentals, they're the gift of real estate that you don't really get from another investment class. You can't rent out your mutual funds. You can't rent out, well, you might be able to rent Eric's sneakers. They would depreciate in value though really fast with people wearing them.
Yes, appreciation on those.
But if you can rent your real estate asset, that's what allows you to leverage it with debt. Because now if the rent equals the debt, you're still break even. You can't always do that with other asset classes. People who are super wealthy just can buy these with cash. And they don't even have, we're like, how many lights were not on in these buildings last night?
Right.
I think a lot of people have them like, we call them cottages in Canada, but they're vacation homes not being rented. It's like all these boats, nobody's driving them.
No,
they just sit here in the docks all year.
Right.
And so,
at PGA, we look across the golf course and it's all the homes are boarded up.
Just empty, right? So a lot of people are just holding.
Yeah.
And the beauty is if you can hold something, so back to that, this will be a whole nother webinar, but
yeah,
holding's about leverage, right? So if you're 20% invested, you're 80% leverage, that's a 5 times lever. So if the house goes up 10% in value, your return is actually 5 times that on your cash. So now you're getting 50% a year growth on your invested capital. You're not getting that. I mean, maybe Bitcoin or something, but not in a regular investment, right?
Did you guys understand that?
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay,
well, I'm just saying, maybe repeat that one more time.
Okay.
That's
so
great.
Well, and this is where, when we talk about using none of your own money, the math just completely goes, right? So if I bought a home, if I have $100,000
yes,
and I go buy $100,000 worth of stocks and those stocks go up 10%, I make 10 grand. Right?
Okay, got that.
If I take that $100,000 and I buy a house with it, I can buy a $500,000 house, right? Because I buy a $100,000 down payment and a $400,000 mortgage.
Yes.
Now that house goes up 10%. It's the 500, not the 100 that goes up 10%. So we just made what, $50,000 on that same investment instead of the 1,000 on, or the 10,000. Right?
Makes sense. Yes.
And that is the real power, the leveraging wealth creation ability. Like there's no way that Jamie and I would be in the place we are from our day jobs. Yeah.
Which a couple of people had asked your Instagram handle.
Oh, it's my full name. Yeah. We'll link it up. It's Jeff Thibodeau. Oh, I should be on you live. Oh, we're on Tuesday. Yeah, we'll share it up.
Yes, we'll share it up. A couple people have asked. We'll make sure we put that
just
out
follow
there.
Carrie for the next 2 days. We're hanging out in Miami.
Yeah,
she'll find me. She'll tag me.
Probably has one of the hardest last names to spell ever.
I saw another question I thought was good. Though.
Okay.
Let me scroll.
We're going to wrap up soon just because we've got groceries and we've got some Miami properties to see. Oh
yeah, great. Another design question. No, design considerations for holds are totally different, right? In my city's pretty working class.
Great question.
So we're not doing luxury holds, right? We're just doing, most of the time we'll buy a house as is, like a 1960s unrenovated bungalow, put like $1,000 into it and rent it as is, with the plan of holding for 3 or 4 years. And when that tenant finally says I'm out, we'll reassess it as a flip then, or reno it and hold it again. Like you keep having these junction points.
Right, because what can you rent it for? My dad does a lot of flipping before he re-rents them because someone's paying, whatever, $900, and then he'll go put in 20K and then he'll be renting it for 2,500. So for him, it's worth it, that ROI, versus just having somebody go in again. And then each time you renovate a unit, you've got the building becomes more and more fully renovated. And when investors are purchasing properties and there's units in there that are not renovated, as soon as you have a tenant move out or it's renovated, the property could go up 500,000 in value just like that, from a simple renovation of a unit. So there's a lot of different factors, I'd say, that go into deciding if you're going to rent pre-renting or after. I say pre.
The single family home market, is typically priced based on, residential buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
And there's an overlap because there are single family rentals, but as soon as you move outside into like the multifamily market, pricing is much more dependent, like a business, on how much revenue that property generates, not how pretty it is or what the next apartment building sold for.
100%.
So that's the point. If you have to, depending on your area too, like we have a lot of rent controls where I live.
Really?
So once somebody's in, like the tenant is in charge. and they can stay for as long as they want. Even if you only have a 1-year lease, they can keep renewing it. You can't jack their rent up. So if they leave, like we have this 12-unit building, and the original owner units from 20 years ago, we're the second owner, the guy that built it retired, sold it to us 20 years later. The rents are so crazy low. That's why we bought it, but we were stuck with them. We're actually offering these people, we're knocking on their doors and offering them $10,000 cash to leave. And still most of them won't take it because they know they can't find anything. But as soon as they do, like Carrie's saying, that unit just doubles in value as soon as I swap one tenant out, even without a reno, because I put market rent in it. But that'll be for the whole webinar.
Yeah, that's a whole different webinar. Yeah, but obviously there's a huge amount of value in property development, and also beautifies the neighborhood that you live in, and helps with the overall aesthetics of where you live, which I know is always important as long as you're on the west side of town, right?
Let me say this about flipping too, or development, is it's a wonderful business because everybody's happy. What I'll say, like the people I buy the house off of, they're happy because they got out of their junky house at a good price. My contractor, right? Like they're usually desperate because their house isn't selling, right? It's like they didn't stage it. And so you offer them a fair price and they're like, they say, thank you. Yeah. And then you're hiring contractors, they're all happy. You're improving the neighborhood, so the neighbors are happy. And then you're bringing in a new person into the neighborhood, they're happy. And like everyone's getting paid and everyone's making money. It's such a beautiful business. Like everybody is happy.
I had a client tell me that exact thing, staying in the kitchen, and he's like, it's just great because I'm getting this house at a great deal and the contractors are happy and I'm working with you and you're helpful and you're happy. And then I'm going to rent it out. The renters are going to be happy. And this is great. It's the happiness method. Yeah, development is the happiness method.
It's taking this idea of this win-lose out of your mind. It's like, it is genuinely a business where it can be win-win-win-win-win-win. Like everybody, you're stimulating the economy, right? Otherwise, this house is just sitting in a dilapidated state for another 20 years. So it's taking that mindset to it. Like, we're going to make this benefit everybody. We're not out there. Like, I'm kind of against wholesaling. We can't, you know what I mean? Like people you're trying to get a house super undervalued just to flip it to someone else. And that's a bit.
Right. Like an assignment.
Yeah. Like there's certain places like condos, it's normal. Like that's how they're built. Right. But if you're doing it, you're going and like knocking some old lady's door and telling her you're going to move in the house and getting the house tied up. And then you're just flipping it to someone. No. I want to be fully transparent that everybody who looks at our projects, and I mean, we share all our stuff online, all the before and after. So like we put our sign in the yard of these houses we're renovating. Yeah. So we like it to be really upfront and that everybody likes us.
What we're doing.
And the side benefit of that is people want to do business with you. Like most of our partnerships come inbound. They call us, right? They see an opportunity. I was just telling you, we're doing this massive build and the neighbors just called and offered us their 60-acre property next door.
Oh, wow.
As a first off market, like come on out if you guys want it, because I see you're building this house next door. We'll let you have it. And it's like, wow.
What's on that 60 acres?
One house, one house in farmland. Yeah. But it's right next to we have a 10-acre parcel that we're building on right beside it. Yeah.
60 acres. It's a land grab right now.
Yeah, we put a whole subdivision, like a whole court on it, right? Like 10 lots or something.
Third webinar, building a subdivision, coming soon.
Which I don't know how to do, by the way. We're going to figure it out though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point. Yeah.
Exactly. So really, there's a lot of opportunity there. You're going to make some mistakes along the way, but if you're not following Jeff, he does a lot of behind the scenes, before and after. He goes along the whole ride of buying the house, what they put into it, flipping, numbers. He shares so much information. He explains things about equity, construction. He's an amazing person to follow. So make sure you tune in. And we hope today's information was helpful. Thank you for all the questions. And Brian, Brian, he says, what's up, Jeff?
Yeah, Brian's from Tom Ferry.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are going to go enjoy our Miami-ness. And I don't know if there's any other questions, but let's see. I'm in LA and Las Vegas. Yes. Thank you for all your questions. We loved having you here today. See you later.
Have fun.
Bye.
Go flip a house.
Go flip a house. Okay. And now, and now, and